When considering facilitating innovation and change in a society, the want for societal change must be understood. Change should not be implemented for only change's sake. Facilitating innovation and change requires skills in the effectiveness and efficiency with which they accomplish the change. According to Haffer, critical to facilitating change is selecting a strategy that is likely to produce the desired change with minimal time and resistance. This article describes a method of selecting a potential successful strategy using a combination of two factors: change target and level of change willingness and ability. Innovation and change should be undertaken in order to improve our various communities and populations. It is important to realize that leadership is not a lockstep process, but rather is very fluid. There is no singular approach to leading change or innovation. According to Harris, no one model can be learned and applied regardless of culture or context. It should be pointed out that leaders can be developed and fostered. The topic of facilitating innovation and change with a broad societal context is of great interest to me because I know a leader has the ability to have a positive impact on society through change. Leadership is larger than the classroom, industry, organization, or government. Throughout the study of leadership, both the practices and principles, there have been many lessons that have been learned. Leadership is a powerful tool that can have far-reaching ability, touching many different individuals in various situations and constructs. Leadership can be the central figure to change and innovation. A leader can be a change agent and can collaborate with stakeholders to develop solutions for the greater good. Positive leadership can transcend obstacles that hold groups and individuals back. A positive leader can develop solutions to problems through creativity and compassion in order to develop change for society's greater good. Facilitating innovation and change is something that I have completed both formally and informally. In my career, I've had the ability to work with groups of people who were in need of help. I have developed solutions to programs that needed to be creative and forward-thinking in order to overcome the problem. As a military organization, we are responsible to our society. This can mean both completing expeditionary and domestic operations. As a leader in my organization, I need to be able to facilitate change, and I need to be able to innovate change while maintaining the understanding that it will affect society in one way or another. The first personal example revolves around relationship building. The situation occurred when I was assisting a foreign defense force in the development of a training course and a curriculum that included lessons and assessments. I was the team lead. In the early stage of the project, I was in contact with the representatives from the foreign force in order to understand the scope of the project. I ended up visiting the members via traveling to their country. The concept of the trip was to get to know these individuals as well as to understand their situation and their needs. The majority of the meetings included casual conversations, getting to know them. All individuals became comfortable with each other, and trust was being built. The communication was free-flowing and open. The development of a relationship made the process a lot simpler. When leading or acting as a leader, it is necessary to build relationships with the individuals being led. According to Anderson, being able to establish relationships opens the doorway to better situations. In this situation, building relationships while leading allowed for trust to be built and allowed for teamwork and collaboration. Building relationships creates buy-in from all individuals involved in innovation or change, and it allows for communication to be a two-way conversation. Also, it fostered acceptance of the product I was providing. A takeaway from this experience was that as a leader, I want to take the time to build relationships, as this is an important element for success. People want to be valued, and using a relationship-building approach to leadership gives people the sense of belonging and builds a trusting environment. This approach is very successful in developing lasting change and innovation. The second personal example is about distributed leadership. In my organization, there was a major project that was being conducted. I was a follower, and I was given a small leadership role in the project. The project was concerning the transition of the organization from a certain set of tasks to new tasks. The project was going to have an impact on all employees in one way or another. The commanding officer took the approach of using distributed leadership by employing many different leaders to lead certain parts of the project. The project was broken down into manageable chunks and divided up to the individual leaders based on their personal skill set and knowledge. The individual leaders could now complete their part of the project in consultation with their subordinates. This provided a more enriched perspective that empowered all levels of employee and kept the leaders and followers involved in the transition. The project was very daunting and took about a year to come to fruition. The end result of the project was a smooth transition into the conducting of new tasks by the organization. By distributing the leadership, the length of the project was condensed and was influenced by all levels of employee. Also, there was little to no disconnection from the project and employee. Everyone understood the direction and had a certain amount of input. Finally, the leaders who were given the opportunity to lead their piece gained a greater appreciation of the organization and project. The individual leader ended up becoming better leaders due to the distributed leadership model. My takeaway was that distributed leadership allowed for all employees and leaders to have a say in the final product. This allowed for everyone to own the project and allowed for a smooth integration of the product. The amount of work that was completed and the quality of work was impressive. The use of distributed leadership empowered all members of the organization and ended up making the organization better. According to Wright, distributed leadership offers an alternative way of thinking about leadership practices by suggesting that leadership practice is constructed in the interactions between leaders, followers, and their situations. An additional resource by Spillane discussed how distributed leadership is a collective interaction among leaders, followers, and that they are paramount. Innovative leadership should include various levels of leadership that work together in order to improve the society and programs and practices of our communities. A singular leader does not have the same impact that a distributed leadership model does. Distributed leadership allows for ideas, concepts, and lessons to be shared and implemented by all. Distributed leadership empowers lower levels of leaders and allows leadership to remove the traditional hierarchies. Giving leadership responsibilities to more individuals can be very good, as it allows for people to work under less pressure and allows for individuals to have the ability to be creative in their decision making. Also, a distributed leadership model gives voices to individuals who might not have been given a voice in the past. In society, all groups should be represented, and a distributed leadership model could be implemented in order to give a voice to the underrepresented groups by providing them a shared responsibility in leading for positive change. In order to ensure that change will be more successful, having an understanding of change theory or change knowledge is key. According to Fullen, change knowledge or change theory can be very powerful in informing reform strategies and in turn getting results. Understanding the process and steps to implement change are very important. Failure to possess change knowledge will almost always ensure failure of implementing real and meaningful change. In other words, a leader must understand and own the knowledge of how change should be planned, processed, and implemented. In a separate work by Fullen, he suggests that change knowledge rests in engaging people's moral purposes, building capacity, and the understanding of change process. With the concepts in mind, and in order to innovate and change, one must describe the why or reasons for the change, and how it is an improvement for society. Also, policies, strategies, resources, and action must be described and designed in order to create meaningful change. Finally, the process of change must be understood. Developing change is about establishing the conditions for continuous improvement in order to persist and overcome inevitable barriers to reform. As a leader, change and innovation need to be thought out and needs to be meaningful. A leader must evaluate the bigger societal picture holistically prior to change, because without buy-in from people, the change will never truly be accepted. With society in mind, a leader can only innovate and implement change if and when the change is truly wanted by society. In my opinion, leadership is a subject that is often discussed but is rarely understood. The need for strong and effective leaders is obvious, but the plan and how to develop the needed leaders of tomorrow is not as obvious. The leaders of today and tomorrow have a lot of responsibility to develop and facilitate meaningful innovation and change. Leaders are change agents. Positive leadership can transcend obstacles that hold groups and individuals back. A positive leadership model can develop solutions to problems through creativity and compassion in order to develop change for society's greater good. 3 major lessons learned through the study of leadership is focused on the people involved in leadership and change, and includes equity and inclusion of leadership and constructive conflict. Our society is becoming increasingly more diverse. As our society changes, there is a need for diverse and inclusive leaders and leadership strategies. With a diverse population, leaders should take a step back to examine their own strategies and limitations as leaders. The bottom line is, leaders need to change and adapt in order to keep up with society. According to Howard, diverse leaders need to build trust, engage personal culture, confront issues of social dominance and social justice, transform leadership practices, and engage the entire community. Along with being focused on diversity, leaders need to be inclusive. Leaders need to include all members of a community and should understand the needs, including cultural needs, of the group that is being led. Ryan states, inclusive leadership is concerned first and foremost with inclusion, both in its processes and the ends for which it strives. It provides another lens to help those concerned with social justice recognize social injustice in communities. Leaders who truly want to develop meaningful change need to be inclusive. With everything being considered, as society grows and changes, leaders need to follow suit. Leaders need to reflect on society and need to be inclusive to all in society. And being a fair and inclusive leader allows for relationships to be built with individuals who you are leading. As a leader, I want to understand the population that I'm leading and assisting. I want to be inclusive to the needs of the individuals. Leadership and leading should not be about what is best for the leader, but should be about what is best for the group and the community. As a leader, I want to take a holistic approach in order to be a diverse and inclusive leader. Constructive conflict is a concept that can be useful when put into practice. As human beings, we tend to avoid conflict and are opposed to embracing and encouraging conflict. Uline stated that conflict, though often unsettling, is a natural part of human experience, and when managed well, breathes life and energy into relationships and can cause individuals to be more innovative and productive. In a society, community, workplace, or classroom, conflict always exists. Knowing this, a leader can utilize conflict for innovation and change. People are passionate about their causes, interests, and everyone brings something new to the table. A leader should treat societal conflict as a means to bringing everyone together for improvement. A conflict should be a conversation starter, and a leader should be able to direct change by fostering and using the energy garnered from conflict. As a leader, I do not want to avoid conflict, but rather I want to use conflict as a starting point for innovation. Time should be spent understanding the conflict, understanding the stressors, including all parties involved, to create collective change that can develop into positive solutions. The biggest aha moment about leadership is the strength and power of transformational leadership. Prior to taking this course, I had only heard the word transformational leadership, and it seemed to be just a buzzword without any context to it. During the course, I had the pleasure of truly learning what transformational leadership is. Baylor described transformational leadership as the ability to get people to want to change, improve, and be led. It involves assessing associates' motives, satisfying their needs, and valuing them. An additional resource by Bass and Reggio stated transformational leadership provides a better fit for leading in today's complex work groups and organizations, where followers want to be challenged and to feel empowered. Transformational leadership is well suited to be an equitable and inclusive leadership method. As a leader, I believe I am fairly versatile as I have the ability to quickly develop an understanding of a situation. I am lucky that I have undertaken a decent amount of practical leadership training. Also, my professional experience has included many different situations that include both being a leader and a follower. I believe my strengths as a leader include being a good communicator, an ability to be a creative thinker, and I am a good problem solver as I can be focused on developing logical solutions to problems that are task-oriented. My personal action plan is defined as continue to seek a better way. The action plan is divided into practices and principles. With regards to practice, I want to challenge myself by taking different approaches when leading a group. I want to develop various practical leadership skills that I can use interchangeably dependent on the situation. The foundation of this plan centers on the continued study of leadership. I want to continue the pursuit of better understanding of leadership. The leader does not simply follow a checklist in order to lead. Knowledge is a powerful asset, and engaging in a study of leadership is a powerful tool in a leader's toolbox. Understanding theories and experience leading a group is powerful. According to Jackson and Perry, there are broadly 5 ways that one can go about studying leadership. You can actually attempt to lead, you can observe leadership in action, you can talk about leadership, you can read about it, and you can write about it. Leadership is an area of academic study that can be very important. Leadership can be improved, and a leader can become stronger through the study of leadership. An area of leadership that I'm committed on improving in is the area of developing new leaders. Professionally, I work in a very dynamic position where I have the opportunity to develop leaders. I work in a trusted position and interact with many new or emerging leaders. I want to pass on my knowledge and share my experience of certain situations and the lessons learned through my personal trials and tribulations. It is important to spend time developing new leaders because it should be the responsibility of today's leaders to develop both personally as well as to develop the leaders of tomorrow. When developing new leaders, I want to both support the new leader through a mentorship type relationship. I want to share my personal experiences, what has worked and what has not worked in various situations. Also, I want to share the knowledge about leadership practice and principles. This will help to build a foundational understanding of leadership theories, research, and studies that have been conducted. Finally, I want to challenge new leaders by allowing them to lead, which will help build confidence and experience. The scenarios of leadership for a new leader would be increasingly more difficult as confidence builds. And I want to be available for guidance and assistance if required. It is very important to build new leaders and provide the leaders of tomorrow with the knowledge and skills required to be a dynamic and forward-thinking leader. Facilitating innovation and change within a society through positive leadership can have a lasting effect. Leadership is a powerful tool that can touch many different individuals in various situations and constructs, as leadership can be the linchpin for change and innovation. A positive leadership model can develop solutions to problems through creative and compassionate problem solving. Strong leaders who are focused on innovation and change can pave the road to a better society where all individuals can excel in. In summation, the goal of a leader should be to understand a situation and should be able to provide a means to develop meaningful change.